from ghoulies and ghosties and long-legged beasties and things that go bump in the night. Good Lord, deliver us.
Laura, get it brighter!
It's big enough, Sims.
Throw some more on. The fog is getting thicker. We have to be sure they see it.
Should we be doing this?
You're part of this, Wallace. We all are.
We can't have them living this close to us. They...
Quiet! Listen.
It's them. Blake and his crew.
Are the boats ready?
Wallace? Are they?
Boats ready?
Yes.
We'll have to wait till morning to get the gold. We can't see in the dark.
I'm getting annoyed with you, Malone. Always acting like you're better than us. I see you. The others may not, but I know who you are.
Who am I, Mr. Sims?
We have to check if they're dead, at least.
They should be close to the rocks.
Crash.
There's no turning back now.
We did it. We did it!
I can't believe it.
This is our secret. The 6 of us will keep this to our graves. No one else shall know. Families, friends, no one. We did this for them.
I won't tell.
No one will. Right, Malone?
Right, Mr. Sims. None of us will tell.
Right.
Right.
It's silent out there. Should put out the fire.
Look at that fog. Never seen it like that before.
It's just a fog. Same as the million others.
No, this one's different. Everything's different.
Shall we say a prayer, Malone?
It's too late for that.
This is Logan Winton.
I'm Jesse Welch.
And I'm Callie Welch.
And this is Play Horror for Me. Tonight's movie is The Fog.
It is night. It is cold. It is coming. For all those who can hear my voice, look into the darkness across the water. Look for the fog. John Carpenter's The Fog. What in the living hell is out there?
John Carpenter's The Fog, 1980. Antonio Bay's centennial celebration turns into a nightmare as a mysterious fog rolls in. Ghosts from its past seeking retribution. The glowing, creeping fog shrouds the town in dread, unraveling a dark history that's been hidden at the bottom of the sea.
Welcome back to your nightly program. Looks like we have another terrifying show served up for you. Don't you feel that horrible chill in the air, tingling up your spine? Don't you love it? Caller, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
What do you need on a night like this?
Can you play horror for me?
You want horror?
All right, well, so we just got done watching The Fog. Callie, this was your first time watching it, right?
It was. And I'm going to tell you, I mean, it lived up to the hype. So I was a little nervous. Not that I don't trust your opinions, Logan. But, you know, we'd been talking about watching it for a long time, but it definitely lived up to everything I wanted it to be and more. So a lot of fun elements, which I'm sure we'll jump into in a few minutes.
And Jesse, this was your second time watching? Second time? Third time?
Yeah, second or third. Second for sure. I know we've watched it at least once for sure. Potentially twice, you know. We've been hanging around one another for a long time, so you're a whole lot better at remembering some of the stuff we've watched than I am. But yeah, I enjoyed it, you know. I always talk about how movies make me feel, you know, that's kind of what I take away from it. I really like the way this one makes me feel. I think John Carpenter does a fabulous job at any of his films, but perhaps none more so that I've seen other than this one, that he makes you feel like you're there, you know, wherever it is. It doesn't seem to matter what kind of budget he has. He makes you, you know, believe that you're living in this cool little town on the coast of California. And, you know, I think for me, that's the sad part when the movie ends. It's like, I kind of want to keep listening to the radio station and be living in this cool little town and be out there on the coast. But,
yeah, he's like, hang out in the bar and stuff like that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, people like on like YouTube, like they've like gotten all the original music and stuff, found the tracks and like done like a playlist and like added all of her kind of like, this is KB, and kind of add in, I think it's like 30 or 40 minutes. You can just listen to all the tracks and stuff. And sometimes I just put that on and just play it and stuff.
And maybe this is a sign of age, but you know, I think the thing I've come to appreciate just about more than anything, other than the feel, but I mean, it's a big part of it, is the soundtracks, you know. And once again, John Carpenter does such a good job. You know, if you were blindfolded, I think you would know that this is one of his scores, you know, because you kind of feel like you're watching the little sister to Halloween in a lot of ways, but then not the little sister, because it's not any less amazing. But, you know, you just, the fun little notes, the little, you know, subtle piano, but then kind of takes a different turn with all the jazz. And, you know, when we first started talking about a podcast, you know, I had just watched another film for the first time set on the California coast, kind of circling around the life of a DJ, and, you know, with all the jazz tracks and all the fun stuff, it just really reminds me in the same way. You know, it's a drama. This is, you know, more horror film, but I just think it's a fun time to be alive, and, you know, kind of see this sense of what, you know, it was like to live in California in the 70s and 80s.
A darkness has fallen over Antonio Bay, and in the darkness was death.
It's like, to me, like, this movie is the best movie of all time that has that ghost story feel to it, like with the beginning with Old Man Macon, whatever, telling the ghost story, and I feel like that carries over throughout the entire movie, you know? Like, you just feel like this old man's kind of telling you this ghost story around the campfire. And
no, I love that, because it's like, from the very beginning, he's telling this ghost story, and you're like, oh man, I'm sucked into this. And then the whole thing could be like a ghost story you tell around a campfire. Like, that's what I love about the storyline. It's complex, but then it's also simple enough that you could be telling it at a campfire. So you're feeling those, you know, different things like the cool fog. And even though it may not be cool outside, you kind of get this chill, or, you know, but you really could just feel like you were sitting somewhere and somebody was telling this story. So like in my brain, I went back to like times that you've heard people tell stories like this. And so you automatically connect with it, and then you're automatically like buying into the whole storyline. And then, you know, I'm sold for the whole movie after the first minute of the film, which I think is cool.
It's like that opening is just so amazing. Like, just like the music, it's in the original script, but I don't think it was in the original version of the movie. I think they added that during reshoots, because like they did a bunch of reshoots to the movie because just they say it wasn't working and stuff. But yeah, it's just just John Houseman, and it's just so amazing, and just the way it looks, and it's just so simple, and just the words that he uses, and just the way he says it. It's like, that's what, just one thing about this movie is just they really get like great actors with like great voices, like Hal Holbrook and, you know, Tom Atkins when he tells the ghost story in the boat, and like, let's just get these great voices and just have them say cool stuff and just moody, atmospheric things. And it's just so great.
It's supposed to be, you kind of have a certain perception about what a horror film is supposed to be like, and certainly it's not deserved, but there have been enough, horror films that have been done, in some, maybe kind of a hokey way that kind of give it that bad rap. And so I think you kind of expect in this one to see, okay, you've paid some money for a couple big names, but then you're going to have people that's going to be kind of hokey and kind of bad, and you don't really see that in this. In my opinion, everybody does a fantastic job. In a movie like this, typically your priest character might have been somebody minor, just in a couple scenes. I mean, it has a major, role within the film, but not really in it that much. And so a lot of directors might have skimped on that and been like, we'll dig somebody up. My brother-in-law can do that or whatever. But, getting Hal to do that, and it's a very important role for the story, and it carries through. Mm-hmm. So I don't know what they spin on it, but it just it has a better quality and better feel. And I mean, that's what John Carpenter does, But I
think the budget was like a little over $1 million. Then they did reshoots, which probably like another $100,000-$200,000. So I mean, very cheap movie. I mean,
oh yeah, and I mean, that's nothing now. And I guess that would have been a decent budget in 1980, but still, I mean, it's not a ton of money, especially for some of the the stuff you did, the effects, the cast, all that stuff. Mm-hmm. I also like, I mean, it's set present day, so set in 1980, but then you've got a lot of older vehicles. You've got the sleepy small town feel. Some of the things I've already talked about, but I really like kind of this vibe it sets. Like it's almost like watching the Andy Griffith Show, and that the Andy Griffith Show is set in the 60s, so you've got the Beatles, you've got the Rolling Stones, you've got this counterculture, the hippie movement, but you never see that in the Andy Griffith Show because it's almost set in this rural area that's in like a different time almost. And so this to me kind of feels the same way in a weird sort of way, where it's like it's set in 1980, but you almost feel like you're in the 60s or 50s in this little town. So you see snippets like Jamie Lee hitchhiking, kind of this hippie vibe, California, some of that stuff. But then, that could also be something from the 60s, not even the 80s. I think it's fun to kind of play with time a little bit.
Helps with like the fact that, they got this sinister past, it's like, well, a lot of places do around here, a lot of places in America, whatever.
Oh, yeah.
Something let's just brush that under the rug. Let's not talk about it.
Oh yeah. And getting back to what y'all were saying about the ghost story, I think it's fun that it is like so many places. So it's kind of like, oh well, there's just this ghost story we're going to tell. There was this shipwreck, okay, and so maybe you think, well, maybe there was some historical truth to there being a shipwreck, but then like so many other stories, you dig a little deeper, and it's like, oh no, it was people being who they are, taking advantage of this wealthy man who had a health problem, and doing something very sinister, and then profiting from it in a way that didn't affect them. But it's affecting their grandchildren, great grandchildren 100 years later.
Kind of can't blame them too much, right? Because I mean they're lepers, so I mean I don't know too much about leprosy, but it's like, is it pretty contagious?
Yeah. So it's like I mean let us quickly draw some parallels to COVID, except I think leprosy would be, I don't know if it's as deadly, but I think it's even more contagious, so it's like
open sores and stuff.
Yeah, your skin like rots off, I think. Yeah.
The only thing I know about is like from like the Truly Tasteless Jokes books. It's like, hey, if you do jumping jacks and then your arms fall off or something like that. So used to have that book in high school showing people just like, hey, here's this.
Hey, did you know?
Here's these dated jokes from the 80s. You want to see them? Yeah, come on.
I got a good leprosy joke. You ready?
Young kids love it.
You're gonna love it.
Yeah. But like they were going to be a mile away, so I mean, I guess it's not too bad. I mean, it's like as long as you stay a mile away. I mean,
the true depiction of the human condition. Instead of telling the rich guy, "Hey, no, I think you need to stay on your island," they say instead, "Oh, you've bought a boat? Really? Well, that's great. Yeah, if you want to settle right up the road, that's fine. We'll just sink your ship." So it's like, typical human problem solving and the way that we have always behaved. You don't really handle the tough conversation. You just kind of try to handle it on the back end. So some things never change.
I mean, no is so harsh. It's so much easier to just cause the shipwreck.
Yeah,
then it's like, oh, I don't know what happened. But I think it's fun because, so automatically, and this is just me and my experiences and probably living on this side of the country, but I'm like, okay, so there's these fishermen and they're on the water and, it's spooky, so it's probably set like in Maine or somewhere in New England. And then it's like, oh, nope, it's in California. So you kind of have this element of this cold, this fog, this kind of dark that you would associate more with, the East Coast than you would the West Coast. But because when you think California, you think, it's sunny and it's warm and there are people surfing and stuff like that. And you don't think as much of the fishermen or maybe different types of year, like in April, whenever it would be like this. So I think that's fun because I was kind of caught off guard by that. But it was also neat, like Jesse said, that it kind of shows this California town that's almost stuck in the past, which is not what you would really expect with California, but it creates a neat atmosphere, I think. It goes well with the story.
Yeah, when I was a kid, I always thought this took place in Maine or something. Yeah. And a lot of the shots, I don't know too much about Ireland or Iceland, but it's they some of the landscapes kind of remind me of those kind of places. These green hills with big rocks jagging up and then steep cliffs and everything.
Well, and I remember, when we watched this the first time, however many years ago that's been, that, my family's from Maine, so I was determined, when we were talking about it, I think afterwards, or maybe when the credits rolled, and they were thanking, the people of some of the towns in California, and it was like, really? And I was doing the same thing, we had to have been, 15, 20 minutes in before I was like, oh yeah, California, that's where it's at, so I think that's part of the fun of it, because, you take a stereotypical thought and then you turn it on its ear and do something different with it. And so I think it's fun with the timing too, and it all kind of plays into that same thing, but it does kind of have this Puritan New England, Salem witch trial kind of vibe to me,
a dark history.
Yeah, dark history.
Yeah.
But then I kept thinking that, but then I kept bumping into it's just been 100 years. And when he first picked up the diary, it was 1880. That's not been 100 years ago, because even here, where we live, it's old is 1700s. We have a longer history. But then in California, it was 1880 is old because of how much later it was settled. So I think that's fun too. That it's not like some movies where we set it one place, but then we try to kind of act ambiguous about where it's at or the history. But we own up to the fact, hey, we're in California, been around 100 years, and this is what happened. And I think that's fun, because a lot of times, we try to, everything's set in L.A., but then we try to make it seem like, it's somewhere else. And so it's fun that it's, on the coast. But I had the same thought, especially when she's driving her Volkswagen down through there and you see these grassy hills and stuff. And then I guess when little boy's running on the beach and you've got those big cliffs, I was thinking of Dover in England, or Ireland with the big grassy hills. So yeah, that's a good comparison.
So amazing, because it's so huge. And it's just dang. Because when you think about California, it's you just think about that one little spot, just down there in LA.
Oh yeah.
But then you got 95% of the rest of the state that you don't even think about.
Oh yeah, yeah.
At least for us. But
well, no, you just have such a skewed sense of the geography, and you don't have any idea. And that's why you think this is Maine or New England, because it's they don't have that kind of stuff out there. It's all one big city, and then obviously not, but.
Mrs. Corbett's, and then John Houseman, with their kind of they kind of got accents, so it kind of makes you think about New England and something like that. So kind of helps with that thought.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Cause I don't know what she is. I don't know if she's Ireland. I don't know if she was Irish or what she was. But
I'm never good with accents. But then hers, at first I thought Eastern European or something, and then I was no. English. So we'll have to do some studying on that. That'll be our homework assignment. We can learn a little more about her background. But yeah, she does such a fabulous job. All the kills are good, but I think she's the one for me that it's you genuinely hate to see her go, because you just automatically identify with her as your, typical, for us, Southern grandmother, just there taking care, hey, go to your room, I'm going to cook you dinner, that sort of thing. And so it's, all the kills are good, but that one, kind of tugs at your heart a little bit.
She actually feels like a real person, not just an actress.
Exactly,
like,
yeah.
Looks like a real person that you see around here just in real life.
Oh, yeah.
11:55. Almost midnight. Enough time for one more story. One more story before 12. Just to keep us warm. In 5 minutes, it'll be the 21st of April. 100 years ago, on the 21st of April, out in the waters around Spivey Point, a small clipper ship drew toward land. Suddenly, out of the night, the fog rolled in. For a moment, they could see nothing, not a foot ahead of them. And then they saw a light. My God, it was a fire burning on the shore, strong enough to penetrate the swirling mist. They steered a course toward the light, but it was a campfire like this one. The ship crashed against the rocks. The hull sheared in two. The mast snapped like a twig, and the wreckage sank with all the men aboard. At the bottom of the sea lay the Elizabeth Dane with her crew, their lungs filled with salt water, their eyes open and staring into the darkness. And above, as suddenly as it had come, the fog lifted, receded back across the ocean, and never came again. But it is told by the fishermen and their fathers and grandfathers that when the fog returns to Antonio Bay, the men at the bottom of the sea, out in the water by Spivey Point, will rise up and search for the campfire that led them to their dark and icy death. 12 o'clock, the 21st of April.
You have the ghost story, then it goes to like the whole town just kind of like going in chaos, like this, kind of like the whole ghost story kind of coming to life and like just shaking this town up. I always thought that was cool because that wasn't in the original script. Like it's like that was part of the reshoots.
Oh.
Like I think it was supposed to just go into a ghost story and then it showed a hand popping out of the water, and then it cuts to the title, and then it cuts to I guess Stevie Wayne in the lighthouse talking and stuff.
Yeah, it's fun. You kind of have this building. You don't really know what's going on, but there's obviously something going on, and it's kind of fun. That the townspeople, even though a lot of them know about the history, they seem to be fairly low key about it. And then you see something going on, so it's fun that I think it does such a good job of that. You get to kind of anticipate what's going to happen and what's going on.
Yeah, because it's just stuff's going on, and it doesn't have to make sense because it's a ghost story. And
right.
It's like supernatural. It's like we can't explain it. It's like they go by their own rules, so you can't do whatever you want.
Yeah.
Can I ask you something?
Sure.
Are you weird?
Yes, I am. Yes, I am weird.
You are weird.
Yes.
You're weird. Thank God you're weird.
Yeah, Tom Atkins as Nick Castle, picking up Jamie Lee Curtis, Elizabeth, which plays a dirty little birdie, a little slut. I love it. So
well, I'm glad you brought it up because I was just thinking the same thing. I didn't want to, get us off topic, but I think that's one of my favorite things of the whole movie is, and I've seen it before, but like I'm anticipating, oh, she's hitchhiking. Oh, he's going to expect something from her because he's picked her up. But then he genuinely seems like a good guy. You don't know what happens, which is part of the fun, but it's not like he has any expectation. And then it's kind of almost like she jumps him because she's this free spirit, And so it's fun, too, because, we've seen Jamie Lee in a John Carpenter film before, and she's, typical, goody two-shoe girl, out here doing her deal, just trying to ward off evil. And then now, here we are, jumping into bed with everybody we can find, and it's. I think that's a fun turn.
I shouldn't say slut. I should say strong, independent woman. I need to be politically correct.
She was being so independent.
She's a scream queen, folks. Okay, she can do what she wants.
She can do it.
But this time, she got plowed and lived to tell the tale. Okay, that's not how it's supposed to work. You get one or the other. Okay, you don't get both. If you don't believe me, watch Scream. Okay? So,
like they're in bed and it's like they're like looking at her drawings or whatever. And he's like, "Hey, so what's your name again?"
Yeah.
Like,
I love it.
No, it's the best. And where are you from? Yeah.
Because like he seems like a cool guy. I mean, she seems like. I mean, they both seem like cool people to be compatible together. So
they're fun characters because at first you see him. Okay, it's 1980. Here again, playing with time. He's driving this Ford pickup from the 50s,
drinking a beer.
Yeah, is this guy a bum? Like, and then he says, "Oh, I'm kind of weird." So you're like, "Well, I like this guy, but." Is he homeless? Like, what's going on here? And then, looks like he's got a pretty nice place. So then you start scratching your head. I mean, it's Hollywood. It doesn't have to make sense. But, what does this guy do for work? But then, you see the next day, he's kind of a leader in the community. Oh, that guy's my buddy. What's the deal? Knows everybody involved, trying to look out for his friend and trying to...
Mayor's husband.
Yeah. Figure out what's going on. Yeah, exactly.
It's like one thing I don't like... It's always bugged me, and it's like I always have to look away when it happens. Like when they're telling the ghost story at the beginning, and then it's kind of like the start of it, and then he goes like suddenly out of the night, and then it's like as soon as he says suddenly, the camera they do like a zoom in.
Yes, I noticed it. Yeah,
and it's just it looks like a mistake.
Yeah, because it's kind of like it's kind of jarring, and I was like, wait a minute,
it does not fit at all. It's just. It's like one of those things like they tried it like in the editing room, but they did it on like the negatives.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh no, we don't got anything we can play with, so I guess this is staying.
Yeah,
so
this is it. This is how it's going to be. No, I thought that was strange too because it's like that happens and you're like, oh no, is this going to be kind of hokey like with what we're doing? And then nothing else was like that. So it's kind of fun because it's totally different, but then it's also like, what were y'all doing? Like what was happening there?
It's like, hey, I got an idea. All right,
Just give me a minute.
And this isn't some scene that you're like sleeping through in the middle or the end. It's like this is kind of setting the tone for the whole thing, and your cameraman's having a seizure or something. It's like what are y'all doing to me here? No, it was odd.
That's the only negative. That's the only negative in the movie for me.
Oh yeah.
I do wonder, and Logan, maybe you have an answer for this. So why do we only see one body? Like none of the rest of the bodies are ever found. So why is there just the one that is found?
Like the three guys on the boat?
Yeah.
I mean, I know like in the original version, like when the two guys go out on the boat on the deck, and the ghost ship kind of flies by, then they hear footsteps, and then it just cuts away. Right. And then it cuts Dick Baxter in the in the hole, whatever.
Yeah.
And then it kind of shows like him die. Mm-hmm. So like in the original version, it's like we don't see them die or nothing. Like they could have just gotten taken away, like the weather station guy or something, or
joining the crew.
Yeah. Get thrown in Davy Jones' locker.
That's right. Yeah.
It's like pirates. I'm connecting to it.
I mean, but I wanted the same thing because I think it is. It's obviously whatever they wanted to do, but I think it's kind of odd that you see him but you don't see the rest. So it'd be like one thing. It's always kind of fun, when you don't see the body. So it's like, well, I know what happened, or I think I know what happened, but body's not there. So then you kind of have some questions. But then this is kind of strange because you see him. I think it's fun him crawling across the floor and carving the 3 into the floor. But then why is he the only one? So I don't know. It's just because that's the way it is. had forgotten at the end, kind of along that same line that, you think Hal's dead when he, is holding up the cross, and then you see him get up and kind of see his face in the camera, and you're like, oh, he's good. And then you're exactly like he is. Well, how did he live through this? Why is he not number 6? And it's like, oh, he is.
Yes. I like to think like the ghosts, like they get their goal and like they're leaving. They're like, should we go back and kill that guy? And it's like, you know what? Let's go back and kill that guy.
Yeah.
We might as well.
Yeah.
I mean,
And I like that there's kind of just a small delay. So when he says, why wasn't it me? And then it's almost like, then you see the fog come under the door. And it's kind of like they were going to leave him. And then after he asked the question, it's like you said, it was like, well, all right, fair enough. You know.
It's like, you know what? It's like they took everything from us. Let's just
we'll go ahead.
Let's take one more.
It was his grandfather. I think it's fun too. I'm picturing this as a Catholic church, but then his grandfather was the priest. So how does that work? But then it's like, well, I don't guess it has to be a Catholic church. It could be, Episcopal or something else, or maybe his grandfather wasn't that good of a priest. I don't know, but there are options.
No, he built the church, so
you can do what you want to. Okay.
there weren't a lot of people around. Okay.
They were all at the bottom of the bag.
That is a great ending. It's like, because just like the weight he has, like Blake when he swings the sword, like it just looks like he's really about to hit the crap out of Hal. It's just, it looks so good, and it just cuts and just get the music and everything. Because like in the original script, it was supposed to be like 12 people that die, and then like he gives the gold away, but then like he explodes into flames, like him and Blake, and then like he's charred dead like on the church floor, and then it just ends with her talking on the radio and stuff, and he's already dead. And
that could be kind of fun too. Yeah. And that's interesting, because I don't feel like, it's not a long movie, but really, not that the measure of a good horror film is how many people die in it, but it does. I kind of forget that it's just 6. You kind of feel like more people die, so it would be kind of fun if there were 12. That could have been a little bit different take. Not obviously not right or wrong, but could have been fun. And then you kind of have a little bit more of a feel for the time rather than just kind of some anticipation. But then the anticipation's good too. So
I wouldn't be surprised if. Yeah, because it was supposed to just have the 6 deaths, but it's like, like 12 must die, and he probably changed it to 6 because he probably thought, well, then the studio would be like, hey, they still need to kill 6 more, so let's make a sequel. And it's like, that was that time like where they were forcing him to make Halloween 2 to write it, or they would sue him and stuff, because he was still under contract with the Halloween people, and then he signed a new contract to make this movie when he was making Elvis, and then then they kind of sued and they kind of agreed. It's like, well, if you write Halloween 2 for us, we'll let you do The Fog. So he was already kind of like, screw sequels, I hate it. So he's like, I'm going to make sure there's no way to bring this back. Both are good, because like the original cut was, more moody and atmospheric, and it wasn't supposed to show like the deaths and blood and stuff. Just every now and then have like a ghoul face, kind of. Because I think he was inspired by like, the Tales from the Crypt comic books, especially when you see its face at the end and it plays that music, like the moaning and stuff. It just feels like something out of the 50s or 60s or something. It just it's so cool.
Hadn't thought about that, but even the villains, you kind of have this throwback feel. That's a good thought. Especially like when you see him with his kind of red burning eyes. It does have a different feel. I hadn't thought about that, but that's true.
This is KB, Antonio Bay, California. 6 minutes after midnight. Haven't heard from the weatherman yet, so I can't say for sure about that rain. But there's a full and no clouds in the sky. I'm Stevie Wayne, and if you don't have anything to do right now, I'll be here playing music all through the witching hour. Even if you do have something to do, keep me turned on for a while, and I'll try my best to do the same for you.
I pronounce it Adrienne Barbeau. I think that's how you pronounce her name. Stevie Wayne.
Oh, yeah. I don't know.
Who I think I think at the time she was married to John Carpenter. At least they were romantically involved.
They were
and
linked.
Stuff. Yeah.
PC.
Because I think this was like her first like starring role and stuff. Because
she does a good job. Yeah.
Oh yeah, she's like her voice so amazing. 'Cause I think the only big thing she done was Maud, where she played just Maud's daughter. If you ever watched that show.
No, I don't think so.
Big B. Arthur. She's really fun. Okay.
She is fun.
If you like Golden Girls, you'll like it. So
I've never really watched the Golden Girls, but I know enough to know that B's the best. So that's all you need to know.
That's all you need to know.
That's right.
I know. It's always on TV, but I always just watch it, but then I always start doing something else, and I always turn it off. But it's like, well, dang, I like Maud, and she's pretty much just playing that same character, but even more bitchy, which is great. So
I mean,
it would be
the
fun.
best.
Yeah, because it's one of the I've just seen bits and pieces of just enough to kind of have an idea of who the characters are and kind of how they are. So no, that would be fun.
But then you got let's see, who else? Are we missing anybody else? You got Dan, who's I think Charles Cyphers. I think that's his name. He's the sheriff from Halloween.
Oh,
Okay.
Knew he was familiar. Couldn't
Yeah.
quite place him. Okay.
He's a great little character. He's always fun. Just he didn't really do much. I mean, he did some John Carpenter movies, but I can't really think of him in anything else. But
It's funny how the directors kind of have their little pockets of people, that they take care of, that they like working with, and that you see kind of weave throughout their films that maybe don't make it in anything else. And then I'm drawing a blank on the name, and I'm assuming, and I didn't pay attention to the credits enough, but was it Janet Leigh?
mm-hmm.
Is that the lady who's in charge of the celebration?
yeah,
Okay, now is that her mom?
mm-hmm.
Okay, I thought
Yeah.
so. I thought I had my facts straight, but then okay, cool.
I said she was the mayor earlier, but I don't think she is the mayor. She's like
What was she? Secretary of the centennial celebration or something. Yeah. Well, no, I thought I had my facts straight, and then I was like, But as soon as I saw her, I was like, I'm pretty sure that's who that is. So, okay.
and she does such a great job because she kind of reminds me of some people that like we may know around here. Maybe just
Yeah.
Oh no, spot on.
Yeah.
Spot on. But then I love, and of course, obviously every town is different. Every town has different resources, different structure, all that stuff. This town looks to be, hard to say, town of 500 people, maybe 1,000, and yet, you've got this woman who is over the celebration, and then she has presumably a paid assistant, it's such a fun dynamic, going on between the two of them, exactly like you said, what you would expect from somebody around here, people we know, the way they would act. But yeah, she does such a fantastic job.
always got to be positive, bright, and cheerful, and dealing with people's BS. So it's put on a happy face. Here we go.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Loves the community.
Yeah, but then also kind of hates it all at the same time. Want to be a part of this. Well, just help me get through today, and I'm gonna go home and cry, or whatever it is she says.
Yeah.
So, I can't remember. Was Tony Curtis still alive at this point, or was he dead? Do you know? Can't remember.
I don't know.
But I mean, with both of them being in it, of course, I don't know. Janet Leigh may not have. I don't know how their relationship was in later years, but would have been fun if he had been in this somewhere.
Did they divorce?
I think so. Yeah.
I'm not sure. I mean, I can't think of many 80s movies. I feel like if he was alive, he'd been like in Cannonball Run or something. So
Well, yeah, because it's like I feel like he would have been in random stuff that you're like, oh. So I'm almost thinking he died young, but
probably.
I can't remember. So that'll be my homework assignment too. I'm gonna have to check on that. But okay, well, cool. So I for once I sort of kind of knew something, little tidbit. So that's fun. But yeah, she does a fantastic job. Kind of anchors some of the supporting cast. Just does a good job.
Him and Jamie did like Halloween, and I guess she went to the premiere or something, or at least they were around each other, and she was like, "Hey, John, if you got a part for like a middle-aged woman, just make sure to call me.
Hook me up." That's right. Yeah.
And he's like, yeah, sure, yeah.
Well, it's not like that she was some nobody. I mean,
Yeah, I know. I mean, ginormous. I mean, I guess I don't know how she was in the 70s, how her career was, but probably slowed down a little bit, you
Oh,
know,
I'm
because
sure,
it's
yeah.
like, oh no, here's an actress, you know, in her 40s and 50s. Let's kick her to the curb. We don't need her anymore.
Had enough.
And they don't really have that much screen time together, her or Jamie.
No,
So
no.
just a couple of shots only at the end of the church where they actually shown together.
And the rest of the time, it's kind of two totally separate spheres. Well, and I think that's part of, you know, backing up to the Jamie Lee conversation about her kind of being slut. I'm sorry, strong, independent woman. But, you know,
We're pigs.
I think, yeah, the worst. But I think in my mind in the beginning, here again, having seen this a while back, kind of murky on some of the details, I was thinking that she was going home. Like, oh, yeah, she's been somewhere, her car's broken down, she's having to hitchhike. I don't normally hitchhike, but she's hitchhiking because she's got to get home. And I guess maybe I had that in the back of my mind because, like, oh, her mom's in this movie too. So that it's kind of like, oh, she's going home. Well, no, she's not. You know, but you know, so then you kind of see that story develop, and it's like, oh no, she's the outsider, and you know, so it's fun.
It's like I got a theory because I've seen this movie so many times, so mine starts making up stuff that's not there. But I think it's kind of cool that kind of got like a theory that she's related to somebody in this town because like the ship's like the Elizabeth thing and her name's Elizabeth. So it's like what if she's like a descendant of the person that used to own the boat, maybe the person that sold the boat to Blake.
Ooh, that's fun.
Knowing that they were going to sink the boat and kill them and stuff like that.
But took a bunch of his gold to sell it to him anyway.
I like that.
That's fun. Well, and you know, it's like I don't feel like it's a normal. Well, it's like a normal thing in a movie where you've got like this brooding female character to say something like that. But I don't think it's normal for your first go-to to be, oh, I caused these things to happen. I'm bad luck. You know, but it's like that's her go-to. So then, and it is interesting too that she's this free spirit. She's traveling. She's trying to get to Vancouver. You know, and then all of a sudden we kind of hunker down here and they're just like, oh no, you know, I mean, you're a one night stand, but I'll come out on this boat with you and find a dead body. I mean, she didn't know she's going to find the dead body, but it's like, I don't feel like most people would be that willing to just kind of tag along and do whatever. So I think it's interesting. That's a good point.
Because like she's drawn to it because it's supernatural. It's like, just feels like because all these people are just drawn together, especially at the end, you know, it's just forces beyond their understanding that's, you know, pulling on the strings and everything.
Puts them all in the church at the end, yeah.
But yeah, that is interesting. Yeah, you said like the bad luck. Yeah, I forgot that line. Yeah, just bad luck. And then he says, you know, hey, like we're all cursed and stuff. And then she says, you know, in bed, and she's like, hey, I come from money. And it's just like, well, maybe
forgot about that.
Maybe he took some of the gold before they melted it down and stuff. Kind of sold it off.
I forgot about the money comment. Yeah.
Again, I'm sure like wasn't intended at all, but just pulling theories, and it's like, shoot, that's kind of cool. I don't know.
It all fits, you know. So it's like you'd think if you were trying to force something, there'd be at least something that made you think, that doesn't really go there. But it all kind of points to that, and it, you know, I think that's part of the fun of stuff like this. You know, is you have, you know, it's fairly straightforward to do a slasher or something like that, and they're still fun. But this one's fun because you've kind of got a horror element, but then you do have like the element of the backstory and the history, and you kind of have a moral leaning about, you know, society as a whole. And so then, you know, doesn't have to stop just because the movie's over. You know, you can draw other conclusions about the other characters, and you want to know more. I mean, you know, I want to know more about her story. I want to know more about you know, all the characters. You know,
I'm sorry.
What for?
Ever since you picked me up, things have been going well. The clock broke, the windows have been breaking. The weirdo at the door last night.
That isn't you.
I'm not so sure. Things seem to happen to me. I'm bad luck.
I don't believe in luck, good or bad. I don't believe in anything much. Something did happen once. My father was a fisherman. He ran a trawler out of Whiteley Reef. One night, late, coming back in, he was out beyond the reef, out near Spivey Point. He looked to windward, saw a brig under short sail, heading right for him. And he radioed. There was no reply. Nothing moved on the deck.
but she held her course. My dad and two of his hands, they boarded the brig. The Risa Jane. No one was on board. There was food on the table, and a hot, steamy cup of coffee. But underneath, the tin cup was rusted to the table. And then something caught my father's eye. It was a gold doubloon, minted in Spain, 1867. My dad picked up the coin, put it in his breast pocket of his jacket, zippered it up, came home, told us a story. And he unzippered the pocket to give me the coin. It was gone.
Nick, when they're in the boat and he tells his story, how it's like, hey, I don't really like believe in it, like in anything, you know. And then Benny's like, well, there's this one time he tells like the ghost story that his dad told him. You know, it's like it's a different ship, but you know, pretty much the same thing, like gold doubloons and stuff like that. And it just kind of helps sets this world up that, you know, it's like, you know, the ocean has all these, you know, stories and all these ghosts, and like maybe it's just a bigger problem than what they think it is, you know. So
oh yeah no, I think it's interesting that it's a common theme you see, you know, even across cultures. It's not just something that we do here. I mean, it's like this common story of kind of like these ghost ships, you know. And I think it's a fun concept because, you know, there's so many ships that went down or ships that just disappeared, you know, never came home, and so then, you know, you don't know what happened to the crew or what's going on, or, you know, whatever. So back to that ghost story element, you know, that you kind of keep that coming. So it's not just at the beginning, it's campfire, but, you know, you kind of stoke that fire and keep those elements going throughout.
Yeah, like the body wakes up and he cars number 3 and stuff. Yeah, it's like his name's Dr. Fives from Vincent Price movie, but it's like even like the story that he tells, you know, it's like they're talking about like the air is all cold, and then he's talking about, yeah, it's like remember like last October, and when those kids went down to the boat off Spivey Point and they died down there. And it's like even that's kind of cool because it kind of sets up this world. It's like they're not really asleep down there. It's like they're kind of just waiting for their time, but you kind of like, you know, kind of just mess with them or something, like they'll kill you or something. I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think it's fun because it's like there are several comments like that are made, or like whenever Hal's talking about like, oh, well, you know, we did this bad thing, so, you know, we need to pay for that. And then, you know, basically the whatever council lady or mayor, whatever she is, she's like, oh, well, there's really nothing we can do about that now. And it's like, I feel like we talk about all these things, but then in a very like nonchalant way. Well, you know, those kids that died, we found them, and I mean, this guy, he looked like he'd been down there longer than that. Like, okay, well, the body has crawled across the floor, and we're just kind of like, well, I don't know. So I think it's almost like they know about this presence that's going on, but you're just kind of accustomed to it. So you're just kind of like, well, okay, well, we're still going to have our celebration. My husband's missing, and I don't know, he's probably dead, but that's fine. We're going to still do this. But I think it's how people are, because you're just kind of like, oh, it's fine. We'll just do this. If it's not important to them, then it's just kind of like, yeah, it's fine.
Well, you know, like it's something bad, and it's just like, oh, no, I don't want to acknowledge. I just want to live in my little perfect world.
Yeah,
yeah, just look the other way. Something's going on, but just don't affect me. Yeah,
it's not my problem. I mean, I didn't take that gold, so you know. And I mean, yeah, there's a certain element of truth to that. I mean, you know, how long can you be punished for the sins of somebody else? But you also have to recognize that, you know, there is a certain amount of responsibility for what other people have done, and I think that's one of the things that does make Hal's character so powerful. Is, you know, I can't remember the exact line, but, you know, I take me, I have to pay for, you know, for that. And he's the only one that seems to have that kind of recognition. Of course, you know, he's a priest, so that's kind of foundational to Christianity. So, you know, it's not a foreign thought to him the way it may be to, you know, non-believers or whatever you want to say, townspeople. But I think it's still interesting that he's the only one that seems to acknowledge any sort of responsibility for anything that's happened. But that's a good way to put it in a nonchalant way, because I thought the same thing about the medical examiner. I mean, to me, he's one of the best in the whole film, because, I mean, you see the guy for 30 seconds, but it's just kind of like, oh, yeah, sometimes they crawl across the floor. You know, it's just kind of like there's no conversation, no anything. We're like so keyed up about, you know, him being cold and, you know, like he was underwater for a long time. That's like the only thing we talk about. But it is so true of us. You know, you get keyed up talking about, you know, who scored the touchdown for the high school the other night at the game. And it's like, well, that's really not the important matter here. Let's talk about something that really matters in the community. And it's the same way here. It's like not talking about the fact that we've got dead bodies crawling across the floor. It's just kind of like, well, but we're arguing about how long he was in the water, you know.
Yeah. Talking about the priest, like he's always drinking and stuff, and like in the original script, I think he's talking to Nick or something, and he's like talks about how he's always had like these like memories or like these dreams that felt like memories, and he's like, well, I just assume that they're the memories of my grandfather. It's like, oh, I always had these visions, like, you know, the boat or something like that. So, and he's right there by the gold, and like he's right in the, you know, the house that was built from the money and stuff. So he should be a little closer to that. And and maybe Nick is too, because, you know, because he says he doesn't believe anything, but seems pretty quick to acknowledge that something is going on. So it's like deep down, like he does kind of believe that there's a possibility of, you know, something out there. So I think by the end, you know, he's kind of accepted. It's like, well, I think I do believe in stuff now. I'm a little scared, and
yeah, that's true, because I don't believe in anything. But then, you know, he and Jamie Lee are the first ones to jump in the truck and try to go do something proactively about this, you know, rather than everybody else who, you know, is potentially listening to this radio broadcast and just kind of going on, you know, no big deal, we're going to the celebration and a party. And so I think that's, I don't know the right way to say it, but I think that is fun, you know, kind of to encompass all that. You've got people, it's a true depiction of society. You got a problem, and then the vast majority of people just sit there and watch it happen. And then you got 2-3, you know, very small percentage who go try to do something, face it head on. They don't really know what they're facing. They don't really know what they're doing, but, you know, go rescue her son, get him out of there, and then, you know, save his life.
Kind of jumping around, but the part when the three guys are on the boat, and then she goes, hey, like, guys on the seagrass, watch out for that fog bank out there. And then he's looking out, he's like, there ain't no fog bank out there. 5 seconds later, hey, there's a fog bank out there.
Yeah.
No, I love that part, because it's like, that's the best. Because he's like, oh no, come look at this. There is fog out here.
Look at that.
He's crazy. There's no fog bank out there.
What do you know about her?
She owns that lighthouse.
I know that.
Her son plays Little League with my kid brother.
She's a mother?
I thought you were happily married.
Not that happy.
Fog bank out there. Hey, there's a fog bank out there.
He's in a bunch of John Carpenter stuff. I think he's in Prince of Darkness. I know he's like in Body Bags, and like he just pops up and stuff. Like he normally just plays a drunk because he's great at it. So he just has that face and just looks like he's constantly drunk. But yeah, I've always loved that line. It's just so funny. It's just.
Well, then, you know, I think after he says it, or right, maybe immediately before, then you got the other guy who says, well, I'm drunk enough, I guess we can head back, you know. And so it's like, you know, these guys are just out here having a good time. There's no evidence that they've been fishing at any point, you know. But, man, they're out there on the water. They're fishing. There's a trawler out there, you know. And so then, you know, going to head back to land. So
unlucky guys. And I know, like, in the novelization, I think, like, they make it to where, like, each person that dies is the descendant of one of the original 6, which I haven't read the book. I used to have it, then I sold it because I'm a freaking idiot. I'm a moron. Bought it for $25 and I sold it for $50. It's probably worth turnaround. It's probably worth $100 now, and it'll be worth $1,000 one day. So
you got to find another copy soon.
I know, God. one of my biggest regrets in life.
Well, you're just gonna have to keep your eyes peeled, come across them.
Oh yeah, they pop up all the time.
Oh yeah, no big deal. I mean, they made a million of them. Don't worry about it. I do like the Descendants. Like the idea of it. That could be fun because then it's a direct punishment. But yeah, you'd have to be careful, kind of how you drew that up, so that it didn't, interfere with other plot lines. But it's an interesting thought because I think for me that's part of it, and I mean it's also part of the charm because if you know everything, then it probably loses some of its appeal. But you do kind of want to know the background because I mean most of these people seem like they've lived here all their lives, so then you kind of want to have a better sense of how they tie back into the people, or at least wish that Hal would talk a little bit more about who the six were.
Yeah.
So you had an idea, and then you could maybe draw some more of your own conclusions, and maybe you understand. Oh, well, I bet that's Jamie Lee's tie, or whatever, like you were talking about. But it's fun to imagine too.
In the original script, he talks about like a woman lit the fire that night. And then they cut to Adrienne Barbeau, and then, then the fog starts circling the lighthouse, kind of like she's the new version of that.
Well, that's okay. That's good. That's good, yeah.
I was like, that's kind of interesting. Yeah. But then, in the original version, she doesn't get attacked. Like, it just kind of circles the lighthouse, the fog, and she kind of just looks down at it, nothing, like they don't attack her or nothing. And then the reshoots, they were like, we need to spice this up. We need to have it actually attack.
Or have her on the roof, yeah. No, well, and I think you keep thinking about that because it's like, well, it was a fire back 100 years ago. Now she's in this lighthouse. It's also the radio station. So I think I'm always kind of thinking about that when I'm watching it. Like, oh, yeah, something's going to happen there. And, like, they attack her, but it doesn't seem like she's punished any differently than anybody else, or that it's not like another ship like the trawler crashes because it follows her light, or it would be cool if it was the new fire, so to speak. And I guess it kind of is because they still go after her, but then they may have gone after her regardless. So
yeah, they could have definitely kind of played on that a little bit more, but and then it's like another thing with the novelization, like that wouldn't make sense is like she's from Chicago, so she's not a descendant from anybody, and they try to kill her. So
I forgot about the line from yeah. It's a whole lot better in Chicago.
Then again, I have not read the book, so I could be getting some stuff wrong, but
$100, like, that's all it takes.
buy it back from the person I sold it to.
Yeah. Tell me, just kind of a loan program. That you pay them $50 and get it back.
Please, I've regretted this every day of my life, ever since I've done this.
April 21st, the deed is done. Blake followed our false fire on shore, and his ship broke apart on the rocks off Spivey Point. We were aided by an unearthly fog that rolled in as if heaven sent, although God had no part in our actions tonight. Blake's gold will be recovered tomorrow, but may the Lord forgive us for what we have done.
The beginning, the ghost story tells a little different in the original script. He kind of tells the whole story. It talks about the gold, how they took that and everything, and which kind of removes a little bit of the mystery,
Yeah.
Kind of lets the whole town. Then you think the whole town would know. Then it wouldn't.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I think this way it's fun because it's like people kind of know something's up. There are varying levels of denial, but then it's like, oh, okay, this is what happened. But then there's kind of one point of truth, after the finding of the diary.
Yeah, we don't know the full story, so we don't know. So
no big deal.
But yeah, this movie's so great. It's like, we need to talk about, talk about John Carpenter, but talk about Deborah Hill. She was the one that wrote it with John and stuff. Because, kind of like the big four is them two, and then Tommy Wallace, who does the voice in it. He's like, KAB.
Okay.
That's
and
fun.
he's the guy who does the Silver Shamrock commercials in Halloween 3.
Oh, okay.
Come on, kids, it's the big giveaway. He's that guy.
We may have to do that for the next episode.
Yeah, it's been a while.
But yeah, he's kind of like right hand man to Deborah and John, and does the editing and a lot of the set decoration. I think he did a lot of the fog effects and stuff.
Oh, okay.
Which were phenomenal. I loved the fog effects. I thought they were fun. It was just kind of everywhere.
I know, it was just, especially back then, because like when they did the remake and stuff, 16 years ago, never saw it, but it's like they did a bunch of CGI, just of course all CGI ghosts.
It was, and that's what's so good about movies like this, is you didn't have any of that stuff to lean on. It's kind of like the internet. Well, yeah, it's a good tool to have, but makes you lazy because you don't have to be imaginative and figure out, okay, how are we going to do this? We don't have the ability to do this. We're going to have to figure out a way to do it, and then making something up so you can make it happen.
And then Dean Cundy, who he did the camera work and the cinematography. He did for like Halloween and most of other John's stuff. Kind of like Dean, Tommy, and then John and Deborah's kind of the Mount Rushmore, just the dream team.
Making it happen.
Bunch of classics. They're great.
So, Deborah, I know I've seen her name on other things. Did she do her own stuff too, or did she always work with John?
Yeah, I don't think she did The Fog. I mean, I don't think she did The Thing. They did like Escape from New York after this, and I'm not sure if she did anything else with them because I think she kind of went her separate ways because she produced like Clue and stuff. So I know she did that on her own, at least with other people.
Okay, so it's just one of those names you've kind of heard.
Yeah.
Or seen, like have this vague idea of, but didn't really know.
Yeah, she's still working with John, even though they're broke up, and now he's with his new woman. She still keeps it professional. It's like, we gotta make this movie good.
So did they have a thing previously, or were they married?
Oh, at least I think I'm not sure. I guess they were married, but it's like it's like during like Halloween, they were together, him and Deborah.
Okay.
I think by the time a year later, I think they were separated. So
no longer romantically linked.
Yeah. Made a bunch of money. I think it made either 28 or 38 million.
Good grief.
Which, people will say, oh, but didn't do as good as Halloween. And it's just like, still made a ton of money. I don't know what people are talking about.
Yeah, it's like, that would be impressive in today's money, let alone 40 years ago.
Yeah.
Spend $1 million, make 28 or 30.
Yeah.
I'd take those odds.
Yeah, any day.
But yeah, just one of the best movies and one of my favorites. Probably my favorite score, at least my favorite score to listen to of all time. Yeah. I still say Halloween's probably his most iconic and probably his best, but can't really listen to it. It's kind of hard to listen to Halloween soundtrack by itself. You have to watch it with the movie.
Yeah.
But with The Fog, put that on anytime and I just fall asleep to it most nights.
It's a great soundtrack. He does such a good job. And like I said, I just appreciate that so much. It's like, I think that's one of the things I love about Tarantino movies is the attention he pays to the score. For a lot of people, it's kind of a throwaway. Well, throw something together, but it's like such a huge part, make or break in the movie. And so I think you really appreciate the effort that John puts in to make this what it is.
And I think that we talked about feeling like you're in the middle of this, like you're in it. And I would say the same thing about like Tarantino's movies. I think having the good score, having like the DJs, having stuff like that makes you feel like you're really in it. It feels real. And I think that's one aspect that does that.
I know. Yeah, it just little details. Yeah, just feeling like you're part of the world.
Yeah, part of the world is a good way to say it. Yeah. And you don't want, like I said, you don't want it to end. Like
no.
I want this world to go on. I want to continue to feel part of this, But that's the joy of movies, it doesn't have to end. It lives on in your mind, and you can still see yourself as part of it, in some form or fashion. Or if you're not part of it, you're still imagining that the world goes on, both before the film started and after it's over.
Yeah,
just not for Hal, but
pretty sure this. But it's like I think they tried to do like a TV series on this. It would have been like an anthology series. It's like each episode would have been a different ghost story.
Okay.
All right.
Which would have been kind of cool. Like
it would have been fun, yeah.
You could do like a prequel or something, and talk about the ghost ship that Nick talks about his father going on and stuff.
Yeah.
Cover that ghost story, and
I want to know about the kids diving. That could have been its own deal, yeah.
You could have had like John Houseman in every episode, kind of like he could have been like the crypt keeper or something, like kind of introducing each campfire ghost story.
That would be fun.
I know, that would have been great, but it didn't happen. So
they screwed that up.
I mean, like you had like all these anthology shows in the '80s and the early '90s, and you think like, hey, let's do one based on this big movie right here. It's like, guess not.
Leave it laying. Is that a respect for John and his
Yeah.
wishes not to have a sequel? Maybe.
Well, I think he wanted it. Like he
wanted. Oh, okay.
But just the anthology part. I think he was just attracted to the idea of like the ghost stories.
Yeah,
And,
which I think is
it's a fun element. Yeah.
Good little creature features, you know.
I know it's just like the mood and atmosphere. God, it's just so perfect. Well, one of my favorites just turn on at night and fall asleep too. You know, pretty much always asleep by the time he finishes his story. It's like just makes me feel nice and warm and cuddly. So
You can hear the fire cracking. And it's just like it's right there at your feet, and
the music kind of plays off, and then it might get woken up by the horn blaring.
Or maybe not. I mean,
and then I get woken up and then I fall back to sleep. Yeah, I mean, that's pretty much it. That's pretty much all I gotta say. Let's see if you guys gotta say anything.
I think I'm cool.
Briefly, I love the, and maybe it's because I spent too much of my career, in the automotive world, but love the gas, pump falling off and then hearing it ding, and like it lingers on that shot. So it's like you kind of expect it to be a quick thing and then it cut away, but it keeps going. Then you see the lift raise. It's just, I don't know. I really like the tone that they set, the build up. And we talked about that, but I forgot to call that out. But no, I think I'm set. So
yeah, it's one of the best movies of all time. So hopefully next year we show at the drive-in. So
that's right.
Cost a little money, but we're gonna do it. Okay,
we're gonna make the drive-in great again.
But yeah, all right. So this is Play Horror for me.
Absolutely.
See you later.
Bye.
Thanks for listening.
I don't know what happened to Antonio Bay tonight. Something came out of the fog and tried to destroy us. In one moment, it vanished. But if this has been anything but a nightmare, and if we don't wake up to find ourselves safe in our beds, it could come again. To the ships at sea who can hear my voice, look across the water into the darkness. Look for the fog.